Braden Smith tonight had 20 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, no turnovers. And he is the first high major player with 20 points, 10 assists, and no turnovers in a road win since Villanova's Ryan Arcidiacono at Marquette in 2014. So it's the most efficient performance by a guard by those standards in over a decade. Purdue beats Minnesota on the road 81-61. Matt McCall, you're shaking your head because, and I know why, because we're just watching this kid along with Fletcher Lawyer. And even though Purdue's different, even though Zach Edey ain't walking through that door, don't those two, but doesn't Smith in particular just cover up so many other things for that ball club to say, hey, we're still going to be one tough out?
Let's not forget, Fanta, 2 years ago when they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, who took the blame? It was those two guys.
That's a great point.
Everybody was blaming those two guys for what happened in the game. They didn't take care of the basketball. They turned it over too much. And you look at their maturation process over the last couple of years to get to this point. It was always the Zach Edey show the last 3 or 4 years. He was back-to-back reigning National College Basketball Player of the Year, rightfully so. But these two guards took a lot of heat when they lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament. And to see the level that they're playing at now is really, really remarkable. You want to talk about a team that's battle-tested based on their non-conference schedule? Purdue took on all comers. They didn't shy away from anyone. They said, bring all the smoke, and it's prepared them for this. Minnesota's struggling. Mike Mitchell, after he had an unbelievable performance over the weekend, really, really struggled in this game. They're going to have to find someone else besides Dawson Garcia to be able to provide an offensive spark for him. You'd think Mitchell would be that guy. He's battled some injuries, so Minnesota's not a great team. But let's not discredit what these two guards are doing for Purdue after 2 years ago took the blame for what happened in the NCAA tournament. And I remember interviewing Zach Edey at Big Ten Media Day and talking to him about it, and he was getting emotional. Like, hey, look, when I was a freshman, I wasn't ready to play. And the fact that these two guys took as much heat as they did the previous season to see where they're playing now, again, I know I said this earlier, and I'm not trying to repeat myself, but that's culture. That's what it is. That's what Purdue culture is. That's what a Matt Painter team is. Guys that get better and improve. And it's really fun to watch based on what was being said 2 years ago about those two guys.
And
I've been a critic against a lot of people who were very high on Purdue, especially this season. This team has done a really good job by, just culturally, keeping everything together. Their big three did their big three thing today, equaling Minnesota's output. I think the big three had 61. Caleb First, I am really happy for that kid because he's someone who has not been in the rotation for 2 years. But he stuck around. I know he loves Purdue. He's a very good student. But someone who was a high recruit coming in, who was able to, start. This was his, I believe this was his first start or one of his first starts this year. He played 11 minutes tonight. No, he played 31 minutes tonight, 11 points and 6 rebounds. Really proud of him. I'm going to be devil's advocate. I'm going to go on the other side. This Purdue team is not going to realize a lot of goals this year until Cam Heide and Miles Colvin step up and do something. Last 2 games as starters, they were 0 with 0 points. Today, I think Painter was trying to send a message to them saying that, hey, we need you to be a little bit more. Cam Heide and Miles had promising freshman years. And one thing about Matt Painter and Purdue is that those guys have really good second-year seasons, right? Mm-hmm. Today, Cam and Miles had 5 points on 2 for 8 shooting. They rebounded the ball pretty well with 9 boards, 4 dimes, and no assists, which is always a good thing. But this team is not going to realize many goals until Cam or Miles can step up a bit. Because what's going to happen against one of these good teams is what happened against Penn State. They're going to find ways to take out either Fletcher or Braden Smith. When that happens, who's going to be that guy to step up? Is it going to be C.J. Cox? I loved him starting today. But C.J. Cox is probably the only other player on this roster who can create for himself. When they start playing the teeth of the schedule, who's going to step up and be there for them? And I love the big three. It's great. But after that, it falls off a cliff. We need a little bit more from the other guys for sure.
Is that something, McCall, that can be figured out at this stage?
I think it's pretty late, Fanta. Like, we're in January, and your non-conference schedule, I mean, you're talking about a team that played against Alabama, Marquette, Ole Miss. I mean, they brought them all on, right? NC State. So you kind of are who you are at this point in the year. You can't add personnel. You can't add anybody into your team. Now, can someone emerge? It's unlikely, but it's not out of the question for someone to emerge at this point in time in the season for you on your team that you can rely on over the next 17 games or whatever it is. But your roster, your identity as a team is not changing on January 3rd. You have enough, through 13, 14 games to change your identity on who you are, or for someone else to really step up for you at this point in time of the season, unless they're coming off an injury, is difficult. It's, okay, this is who we are, and how are we going to maximize what we have on our team, maximize our roster, and nobody's better at that than Matt Painter. So I don't ever count them out. Are they a Final Four team playing in the national championship game? Probably not, but that doesn't mean that they can't get to the second weekend in the NCAA tournament or compete for a Big Ten title, because, I know they're not in Ant's top tier, and I probably wouldn't have them in my top tier either, but who knows? This thing's wide open, and you look at the standings at the top, Michigan State 2-0, UCLA 2-0, Michigan 2-0. So, look, this could come down to one game. And I wouldn't be shocked to see, Purdue creep their way into the top 5 or top 6 because of those two guards.
I do love the fact that Braden is taking I do love the fact, though, that Braden has taken 39 shots over the last 2 games. I like him being more aggressive, and I think Purdue needs that. If other guys aren't going to contribute with a couple more shots here and there, I love those shots going to Braden more than anything else. I do like that, and I think that's a nice wrinkle, especially if the coaches are trying to push him to be more aggressive with his offense.